It's a pile of bulls.
Assessment of the training regiment, the Citadel, will begin now. Beginning thought transmission sequence.
The Citadel is a first-person shooter developed and published by Top Hat Studios. It's made in the same style as Wolfenstein 3D and the original Doom. And while I personally don't have too much experience with either of those titles, I am familiar with the way that people describe them. And in my experience with this particular game, it felt a lot more like a roguelike or roguelite, where my skill had very little to do with how well I was doing. It was more to do with what the enemies were doing and where they were at any particular time. So, in instances where I was doing particularly well, I was never really confident that I could do that well again. And where instances where I wasn't doing so well, it felt like it was completely out of my control. That sort of game, I understand, will appeal to some people. I believe that speedrunners in particular will most definitely take a liking to this sort of game, as well as people who enjoy ridiculous Dark Souls challenges, like trying to complete the game without any items, armor, or weapons, things like that. But for me personally, I didn't really see any reason to continue trying to pass the second level, because I knew that the further I got, the more it would just be like trying my best to avoid the enemies and traverse the level and trying to engage with them. The Citadel's maps are interesting to look at given the style that they're going for, but the hitbox on the geometry is really hard to read. So even though I'm aiming and my reticle is most definitely on the enemy, there are still times where I'm missing every single one of my shots because they're going into a wall or a ledge is just a little bit too high. So it made aiming a frustrating process, and I do kind of feel like this could have been a game where they wanted you to be tactical with how you moved and how you fought. But all in all, it just wasn't for me more than anything. I won't say that it was a bad experience overall, it didn't really leave me in a place where I wanted to go further. They were attempting something with a cult/religious sort of story, but it wasn't engaging enough to make me want to experiment or explore it. I won't look it up because I just don't care enough. This isn't a game that really tests my particular skills or my ability to play these style of first-person shooters. So I want to move on almost immediately.
Transmitting final thoughts on the Citadel. Training regimen is ineffective and more than likely made for entertainment purposes. However, the subject finds the Citadel not amusing. New training regimens will be planned in the future. Subject being